Hi viewers, welcome back to my channel. So this is the next video on AMCAT Automata questions. So we've already seen two videos in these series. So this is the next video in that. So we have already seen a right left triangle and an isosceles triangle, like how to print that pattern. So in this video we're going to see a different pattern, like how it's to be printed. So let's get started. So before getting started, if you think my work will be good, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. So this is the pattern that you are going to see today. So if you see here, it is an inverted left right triangle. So here if you see, the pattern is actually decreasing. So for input n is equal to 5, we are getting an output something like this. So please pause the video and feel free to write the logic and let us discuss the logic. So hope you all got the logic. So first thing that we would always suggest is that break that into a table. So I have breaked it into a table and I have marked a number of rows and columns. So we have got 5 rows and 5 columns for this. So for n is equal to 5, for the input 5, we are getting n number of rows and n number of columns. So we'll be using two loops here. So one loop is for moving within the rows and one loop is for moving between the rows. So for going into the each row, we will have a loop, and for going to the each rows, we will get a loop. Now we will try to write the logic now. So we already found that for input n is equal to 5, we are going to have n number of rows and n number of columns. That is, in this case we have n as 5. So we're having 5 number of rows and 5 columns. So if you see here, I said right, basically the row number is only printed in that particular row. So as I said before, we are going to use two loops. So first loop will be working with the rows. So we have to give the condition for that. So if you see, our row value starts from 1. So R will start from 1 and R will go till 5. So we should have 5 iterations to be happen. So if you count that, R is equal to 1, R is equal to 2, R is equal to 3, R is equal to 4 and R is equal to 5. So R must be less than or equal to 5. This is the condition for the rows. Now we will have another second loop for the columns. For these columns also, now we have to write the condition. Now let's look upon the logic. So when R is equal to 1 and C is equal to 1, we are having the value as 1. When R is equal to 1 and C is equal to 2, we are having the value as 1. That is, I mean this position. And when R is equal to 1 and C is equal to 3, we are having the 1 again. Then R is equal to 1 and C is equal to 4. Again we are having the value that is nothing but the row value, that is 1. When R is equal to 1 and C is equal to 5, we are having the value again. So now let's move on with the next row, so we will have a better clarity. When R is equal to 2 and C is equal to 1, we are having the value as 2, that is the row value. When R is equal to 2 and C is equal to 2, we have the value 2 again. When R is equal to 2 and C is equal to 3, we have the value as 2 again. And when R is equal to 2 and C is equal to 4, we have the value as 2 again. And when R is equal to 2 and C is equal to 5, we are not having any value. So if you see, in the first row we had 5 1 printed, and the second row we are having only 4 2's printed. So the value is the row value that is printed, but the condition is that it should go on decreasing. So if you see if you compare it with the first loop, we have given R is equal to 1 and R is less than or equal to 5. Similarly, for columns also we can compare this, because for the first row we should have 5 ones printed. So this condition itself will get satisfied. Like this, if we give this condition itself, we can satisfy that, because we should have 5 iterations. But when it comes to the row 2, should have only 4. Okay, so in such a case, we have to make the column value as 2. So if you make the column value as 2, again, if you give the same condition that if it is R is less than or equal to 5, we can have the 4 iterations happening. So let me explain it with the next another row. Okay, so now we'll go with the row 3. When R is equal to 3 and C is equal to 1, we're having the value as 3. When R is equal to 3 and C is equal to 2, we have the value as 3 again. When R is equal to 3 and C is equal to 3, we again have the value. But when R is equal to 3 and C is equal to 4, we don't have any value. We don't have any value, so I'll just show that we don't have any value there. If you see, the number of values printed is actually decreasing. So for the second loop, we can give the condition as c is equal to r. So for the second loop, we can give the condition as c is equal to r and c is less than or equal to the value of n, that is 5. Because if you see, when the column is value of row, that much amount can be printed. So if you see in the first row, we should print 5 values, right? So when we compare this with the row, when r is equal to 1, we can have 5 iterations, and r is equal to 2, and when we give the condition as like c is less than or equal to the value of n, that is 5 here, then we will have it for r. C is equal to 2, c is equal to 3, c is equal to 4, and c is equal to 5, that is 4 iterations. And when we move with the next row, when r is equal to 3 and when r must be less than or equal to 5, we will have 3 iterations, that is c is equal to 3, c is equal to 4, and c is equal to 5. Similarly, for r4 we will have c4 and c5, and for r5 we will get the only one value to be printed. So this is easy logic. So the both logics are, for the outer loop we will give the condition as r is equal to 1, value of row starts with 1, and r must be less than or equal to the value of n, that is 5 here. And for the inner loop we have to move within the columns. For that, when c is equal to r and c must be less than or equal to the value of 5. So hope you understood the logic. Now let's try it with the Turbo C++. So we will open the Turbo C++ and I'll create a new program and save it. .c, it is a C program, so don't forget to. Now we'll write the necessary header files in the code. So after this we have to declare the variables. So we're going to use 3 variables. One is n, that is the value or the number that you're going to input, and r is for rows and c is for columns. So I'm creating 3 variables, c and n, and then giving cl or ser. It is completely optional. So after that I'm getting the value from the user, that is from the output. So I'm giving enter the number, and then I'm storing that value in the variable n. So ampersand n. So we discussed the logic previously, so we'll implement that. First we're going to add 2 loops. So the outer loop is for the rows, so r will start from 1 and r is less than or equal to the value of n and r plus plus. So within this for loop we will have another for loop for the columns. So c will hold the value of r and c is less than or equal to the value of n and c plus plus. So if that is the case, we have to print the row value. So percentage d comma row is r, so I'm printing it and I'm closing the inner loop. So after completing a particular row we have to go to the next line. So I'm giving the slash n, then I'm closing the outer loop. So I'm giving get ch and we will run this program now. So it's asking enter number, I'm giving 5. So we got the exact pattern that we saw in the question. So we will try giving another value. Let me give us 7. See? So if you like my work, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.